Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to go over how I created this copper pipe clothing rack using used copper pipe. Now I've done a video prior on how to clean the copper pipe and cut it, so I provided the link below to that video. So what I'm going to go over in this video today is the assembly, the measurements, and how I got this to where I wanted it. So if you like this video, obviously like and subscribe. So let's get started. The measurements I will put down below. I use 3/4 inch pipe. Here you'll see the number of pipe followed by the measurement. So I had 7 3-foot pipe, etc. As you can see here, I'm taking the copper pipe tees and the 2-inch copper pipe individual pieces and putting them together with the copper pipe solderless glue. I'm trying to shove it down as far as possible because I didn't really want a big gap between the tees. And I did the same for when I did the other side as well, just to keep it even. So then I built the other side using the tees as well. Here you can see that I'm testing it out. Not all of the tees fit easily with the copper pipe piece that I had, so I made sure I tested it before I proceeded to glue, just so it would be a bit easier for myself. What's not shown here is I had taken that glue had come with some copper pipe sandpaper, and I roughed up the edges. Oh, you can see I'm doing it right now, just to help the copper pipe get into those grooves. The glue get into those grooves for when I slipped it in. Now I put the glue on the inside so I wouldn't have so much to clean up afterwards. I also had it on paper towel because it did leak a bit. So once I got it to where I wanted, I started to proceed with the other 2-inch pipe. I placed it in the side and then I added the elbows. Now, one thing to note, which I should have done at the beginning, was I should have worked from the bottom up. As you can see, I'm doing the middle base layer, and then throughout the video you'll see that I go to the top, add it. The reason why I started with this layer is I actually didn't have all of the pieces already cut, just because I was waiting on some more tees to come in from the hardware store because I accidentally did not order enough. And as we're in right now, COVID-19, I couldn't quickly pop to the store. I had to wait for it to come in. So you can see a little bit of leakage coming out of the one end piece, so make sure you have some paper towel or something to catch the extra glue. So that formed where the base for the shoe rack would go. Now I had tried putting in these pipes earlier to make sure that they fit, so I kind of got to the ones that worked the best fitting into those tees. Now you'll notice something about these pipes. These pipes were used copper pipes. I'm a big fan of reusing materials if you can, and we had some of these copper pipes at my grandfather's place that I shined and cleaned. As I mentioned earlier, I have another video on that. But for this, the copper pipe that I had used wasn't necessarily straight. Again, it was used, so it does have a bit of kind of a angling happening. It's definitely not straight. So you'll see that throughout my rack. It worked out in the end. It just made sure we adjusted it. So I just banged it down there to get it flat because no one likes a wobbly anything, to be honest. So then I worked towards the top. I attached the elbow. So here you can see that I'm attaching it to the 2 4-foot pieces of copper pipe, and then I attached the bar across, which is 3 feet. Now you'll notice in my measurements before, I didn't really have anything that's classified as 4 feet. The reason why is because I added some extra I guess, purse holders or a hanger piece on the side. And I hadn't decided on how I was going to do that at this point, so I just did 2 4-foot pieces. But if you were to add those extra options on the side, which you'll see in a bit, it would be 3 foot and then 1 foot. Now, this may look like my coat rack is angled. It is not. It just, my camera was angled at this time, so it does look like it's not straight. It is straight. So from there, I've made pretty much how I want the rack to look. Now, I was trying to decide whether or not I really wanted that extra like shoe shelf at the bottom, and I decided yes, I still wanted to have that. That was part of my design. So I just waited for the extra elbows to come in and proceeded to do that. So here I'm doing the exact same thing I did before. However, there's one less T. You don't have a T in the middle. Instead, you have a 4.5-inch piece that I put in between so that it would line up with the other one rack above it. So again, I recommend working your way from the bottom up. I did from the middle to up, back to the bottom. The reason I say to work from the bottom up, as you'll see later on, it did take some effort to really jam these pieces into place. You'll notice in the one bar that I have across, it has a little connector piece that is kind of soldered together. Again, this was used copper pipe, so I just used old pieces. I didn't include that extra piece in the materials you'll need because you really don't need that one piece along that bar. It was just like that before. So that is the second shoe rack. Now I'm adding the T's to the corners so that I can connect this up to the one above. The one trick about these T's is trying to make sure that they were flat so that it was nice and even when I tried to connect it. One thing to know about that glue is it does really dry quickly, so you do need to act pretty quickly when you make decisions. So here you can see that I'm adding my 7-inch pieces to the bottom, and you might be asking, why did you go with 7 inches? I really wanted to make this whole rack 5 feet, if possible. I saw some other people, they had done a 5 feet rack without these extra shoe racks before, and so I wanted to add that extra length, so I did 7 inches between the top rack and the bottom rack. Also, it allowed me to fit in proper shoes as well. So here I'm attaching that bottom rack that I had made. Again, I can't stress this enough. It would have been easier to start from the bottom up and just fit the pieces in rather than doing the technique I did. I ended up having to bring in my sister's boyfriend for him to whack them together because it was quite difficult, because the pipe that I was using wasn't necessarily straight. It did have a curvature to it, so we really pushed it and whacked it in, as they hadn't perfectly lined up before I did that. So here you can see that I'm adding the last 2-inch copper pipe to the bottom legs, cleaning them off because I've added it to the outside of that copper pipe. And then adding the cap in there. So I have 4 caps on the bottom, so 1 for each leg, and then I use 2 caps for the hooks later. So here I'm measuring out. I wanted to add these extra hooks to hang bags and everything. So I've gone and I've measured 4 feet from the bottom, and that gives you a foot from the top. So here I'm cutting at 4 feet from the bottom, or 1 foot from the top. And I did it on both sides to make sure it was even. And I wanted to, the reason is I did have these extra pieces that were part of the pipe from before that were soldered together that I wanted to use. I'm big on reusing things rather than using new pipe and elbows. So I've added the T's again. I've added those extra pieces that were from the other pipe to be the hooks. And then I'm adding the glue again to slip into those T's. And here's the finished product. So I have the hooks with the caps on them to hang my bags. And then I've got the 2-shelf shoe rack for all my shoes. So obviously, hopefully you've loved this video. Please like and subscribe and add your comments below. Thank you.